to wow. Welcome to Eagle Heart Manifestation. I am Eagle Heart Woman, and I've been waiting for you. I've got the altar set up because today is special. I'm going to read some beautiful stories from the elders that I told you about, stories about manifestation that I did not understand when they told me them at the age of 32. So I'm actually going to read right from my book. But before I do that, I'll show you my drum and eagle feather and pine basket. And right here are my ceremonial moccasins. I wear these into ceremony, and they are Lakota Sioux from North Dakota or from the Dakotas. Here is the porcupine basket. These are porcupine quills that are dyed. And I told you that I keep my little notes to myself and things that I need to do. I will just pull one out during the day or at the beginning of the day, and it'll tell me it's a message from Creator to tell me that I need to do certain thing, or it'll be just a note that has something inspirational on it. And here's my pendulum and my rattle. And right here is some sage. So, since we're going to be delving into some sacred stories of manifestation from the elders, and these are stories about medicine people, and I'm going to tell them to you today because they prove that this physical world is malleable, that manifestations or miracles were nothing to my people a long time ago. It's the way they lived. And it was only when they were taught otherwise by the church and by schools that they began to doubt, that their thoughts changed and they became uh, mostly like the rest of the population here in Canada. But so many people still carry the sacred teachings and perform what we would call miracles by working with spirits and by working with the power of thought, with energy. So I'm going to join you in a moment here as I sit down and get the smudge ready. This is sage smudge. It's a purification herb. And you've seen probably ghost stories where there's been a haunting and somebody will come in with sage and smudge the whole house and clean out any negative energy. Well, we're going to use sage to smudge ourselves, to bless ourselves. So it's just as you would as the Catholics do with holy water before they enter a church. You bless yourself with this sacred herb. There's sweetgrass and cedar and fungus. Those are all medicines that we use here where I live. But tonight we're going to use sage. And I am going to bless you on the other side of this camera and send good thoughts to you. So here we go. So what I'm going to do now is light the smudge and waft it toward you with a prayer. And I will use my eagle feather to do that. And of course, my matches aren't very good. Wouldn't you know? I can get one. So what I'm going to do is light the sage, and I'm going to waft it toward you on the other end of on the other side of the screen. And as I do so, imagine that the sage is cleansing you, and bless yourself. Bless yourself because there is no one else like you in all of the universe. So bless the special gifts that you have, the special traits that you have. And in the Cree way, we take the smoke and we waft it over our heads and say that we will think only good thoughts. Over our ears, hear only good things. Over our eyes, see only the best in others, the good. Over our mouths, to speak good, no gossip, and over the heart, so that our hearts can be open to love. So I will guide you and light the smudge, the sweetgrass, which was picked on the prairies It's a plant that grows in dry areas and in abundance. And it has a beautiful, of course, you've probably had sage in, turkey stuffing. That's what this is. So, first of all, I will smudge my mind, my head, to think good thoughts, my eyes, to see good things, to see the good in others, my ears, to hear good things, no gossip, my mouth, to say good things, and over my heart. I know I think I did my mouth twice, but and now I waft smoke toward you, the sacred sage, and I ask that the Creator blesses you and your family and your pets and your houseplants if you have any, and that only good comes to you and that only good leaves. And as you bless your mind, your eyes, your mouth, your ears, and your heart, may you be well. May you be happy. May you be in the right place at the right time. May you walk in beauty, beauty before you, beauty behind you, beauty on either side, and beauty below you. Blessings, blessings. And for all of the gifts that we are given every day, our abilities, our speech, our physical bodies that we can move and run and dance, we give thanks. We give thanks to the Creator. Kinan Skomitin, thank you, Creator. Hi, hi. So I'll just put the sage over here and move right into what I said I would share with you today. And it's from my book called Those Who Know. You've heard me talk about it. So I wrote it back in 1992, and I spent 2 years traveling the province to find the oldest, wisest people, elders that I could find, and put their stories in this book. And they're all gone now. And I feel that their stories were a bridge between a world that was sort of disappearing and the new world. So many of these people, there were a few that did not even speak English. They only spoke their indigenous language. And some of the stories, as I said, were so amazing or so far beyond me that I didn't put them in the book. But these are the stories that I did put in the book, and I'd like to share them with you right now. So delving into the book, I am going to read from what I wrote about a man named Joe Crowshoe. Now he was Piikani. He was of the Kainai tribe in southern Alberta. So his people were called the Lords of the Plains. When the horse came to them, as the horse came up, apparently there were horses that were in Spain that were brought over to this island and of Canada, North America, and as Indigenous people got horses, or the horse drew the circle shut, suddenly they no longer had only dogs to carry their belongings when they moved. They had these amazing horses, and to the Cree they were mistatim, which means big dog, that they could suddenly visit, they could suddenly hunt better, they could move across the land. And as we say, the horse drew the circle shut for the people. It was an amazing, amazing gift for the people. So the Blackfoot were masters of the horse. And as I said, Joe Crowshoe is of the Blackfoot Nation here in Canada. And at this point, I was talking to his son, Reggie, who was talking about the old man. So what I did is, this is the second edition of my book. So when it came out again, it came out first in 92 and then it came out again as a landmark edition in 2012. I went back to the families of the elders who had passed away to see how they were carrying on with their parents' teachings and with cultural activities and ceremony. So in this passage, I'm talking to Reggie Crowshoe about his father, Joe, who has passed on by this time. So I hope you don't mind me reading and looking down. I'll try to look up once in a while. Here we go. So Reggie told me about many philosophical conversations that he had with his father Joe before he passed away in 1999. One night, his father was outside smoking, sitting by a fire. He sat back in his chair and he looked up at the stars and he said, "My Indian name is Weaseltail. I have lived more than 100 years, or almost 100 years. And I can think of times when I was in ceremony as a young man, when I sat and drummed for the powerful old people. At this one ceremony, I looked across the lodge at an old man leading the ceremony, an old person. I think his name was Eagle Speaker. I once knew him. He's been gone a long time. I watched him handle rocks that had been heated up in the fire until they were red hot. I would watch as he picked one up in his hands and he would lick it with his tongue. I can say that I even saw a slight mark where he had run it along his tongue. There was another old man, Peace Chief. He would strike two hot rocks together and out would come butterflies. My son, where has the medicine, the magic gone? So Reggie said to me that he was interpreting what the old man was asking. And he thought that the answer to his father's question was, those butterflies came out of the rock. The magic came at the moment when everyone in that teepee believed that it was possible, when everyone in that teepee understood our indigenous Pekani practice, a way of life. We need to come back to that time of understanding that we can create miracles, that we are powerful. Then the magic will return. So I am coming from manifestation from a place of total belief, as I've said before, because the things that First Nations, Native American people, there's different terms for First people all across the world, especially in North America. I have been in ceremony and seen instantaneous healings. I've seen spirits. They look like little blue lights that are just floating in the darkness in a sweat lodge. So I know there is so much more than we can see and touch and feel. When you see these things happen, like they're perfectly normal, then you know that we are living in, for lack of a better word, a fake world, a simulation, and we can manipulate it with our minds, with our imagination. That is the gift Creator gave us, is our imaginations to actually see in our minds what we want to have in this world, what we want to have happen. And with our imagination, we can also feel what it feels like to have that thing. It is all in the emotion. And I was told this probably 500 times in my life since the time I was 20, that feel as though you already have it. That's what the elders would say, but I didn't know what they meant. I thought I was feeling. But for example, sometimes when I was giving a speech and I would think beforehand how wonderful this speech was going to be and people were going to come up and talk to me after and want to buy my book. But at first, I was so nervous. That was the emotion that was taking over. It wasn't this pure confidentiality, pure confidence. It was nervousness. It was fear of failing. But I didn't even notice that. I just, it was only a surface feeling that I had. So my advice to you is to really have a wee whipstone ceremony, or work with somebody who can go into your subconscious mind, find out where those fears lie, where they first began to, when they first came to you, and perhaps where they settled in your body. I used to be so nervous I would get instantly nauseous, and I would have an upset stomach. And this was even as a child. So I would be given medicine and all kinds of things. And it wasn't anything physical, it was my own fears. So when I finally realized what I was doing, I began to feel what confidence felt like, what freedom from fear felt like, what being like that eagle and knowing what I wanted and just zeroing in on it and grasping it in my claws. If you can hold it in your head, you can hold it in your hands. So I have one more story, and this one is from Russell Wright. He is talking about how we label things. And he's talking like he's a child and that he's listening to his elders, but he was actually quite an old man when I interviewed him for this book. He also had horses. He was from the Siksika Reserve, which is in the eastern part of the province of Alberta. And here's what he had to say. The elders would tell me quite often, "You're too busy labeling things, putting on price tags. Time has a price tag. You're always putting labels on things, saying things like this is a problem or so and so is a problem." Elders don't do that. They take a person for what they're worth. They say there's no such thing as someone who is good for nothing. We are all worth something, and we're powerful. Russell values the equanimity that was instilled in him by elders when he was growing up. His grandparents spoke only traditional Blackfoot to him, and it's a tongue that embodies the gentleness and sophistication, but loses its quality the more anglicized it becomes. Russell says, "What always comes back to me is the way my grandparents taught me. They were always telling me stories, always explaining things to me. They didn't say, this is bad, this is good. They didn't differentiate between the two. Everything was nice to them. Everything was pleasant to them. Nature, other people, animals, they were all pleasant. They were all nice. We don't have an opposite word for nice in Blackfoot," Russell says. "It's descriptive, and to say it, we have to say a bad thing." Russell pointed out that Blackfoot etiquette is non-confrontational, and elders don't debate and fight over a subject. They have dialogue. Traditionally, decisions were made based on 4 principles: dialogue, consensus, decision, and action. Leaders aimed for harmony, and the majority ruled in decision making. The holistic number 4, which is very prominent in Indigenous culture, comes up again when Russell describes the material, spiritual, social, and artistic components of a healthy culture. The next story I will tell you about is one from Tom Crane Bear, and it's about when he went to retrieve his pipe. He was given a pipe after visualizing it and imagining himself leading ceremonies with a pipe. When he was given it, he was told that it would be on a rock, that it had to lay in the mountains on a rock for 4 days. And then he was told where it was, and this is what happened when he went to go and retrieve the pipe. The old man said we'd have to walk toward the pipe on the rock, and we'd have to stop 4 times before we got there. At our first stop, I realized we had no sweetgrass. So my friend volunteered to go back and get it. So I could see him lighting the sweetgrass, and he held it glowing, and it was sparking as he walked toward me. There was tall grass all around, and it was really dry. I was worried he'd started on fire. When he got to my place where I was standing, I asked him why he lit it, and he said, "I didn't light it. It started up all by itself." At the second stop, something almost touched me. I could feel something heavy from behind me coming, coming. I didn't look up at it, but I knew it was powerful. It didn't make any noise. I just heard the wind in his wings. It was a big eagle. I saw it as it passed in front of me. By God, that eagle must have had a wingspan of about 12 feet. I watched it fly ahead for a bit, and then it disappeared into the coulee. We came to stop a third time, and nothing happened. Then, at the final stop, we had been told to stop 4 times. The eagle came once more, and then once more again, it disappeared up the coulee. So that's just a story of the miracles and the magical things that can happen when you are on a spiritual path and the spirits are guided to your energies, and your energies are actually making things happen. Your thoughts and your emotions and your imagination is helping things to happen. So that's it for today, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Kinan Skomatin. Hi, hi. Thank you.